No.
Yeah.
It was like the second I put that in my brain's like, oh, like, fuck you are.
Watch me. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs Notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
I'm going to start with a celebration today.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What are we celebrating?
We're recording.
Oh.
We hit record. Like, if you listen to our last episode, you know we had a bit of a moment where we didn't. So yeah, I'm celebrating.
Yay, confetti.
Yay! It was so funny. I was editing the other day for a couple of episodes ago. And there was a moment where you were like, insert confetti here. I'm like, fuck, now I've got to insert the confetti. Now I've got to go find the confetti.
You should have some favorites just saved.
Yeah, there are some that just should be there ready to pull in at the moment's notice. Because let's face it, it's not going to be the first and it's certainly not going to be the last. So
it saves about an hour of cleanup after the fact to insert confetti here.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So today we're going to do something slightly different to what we've done in the past.
We're going to stay on topic.
I'm not promising that. I can't say that that's going to happen. But we are going to do, like, today is going to be a little bit more of a how-to. And we don't normally do these because when it comes to meeting your needs, most people have got very different ways of meeting needs that resonate with them. And so it's very difficult. I think most people, when they come to start working with us, they come expecting us to give them a checklist, basically. Be like, here you go, do this, done, your needs are met. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't quite work like that. And actually, when you go through the program, there is a process that we take you through to help you figure out the ways of meeting your needs that work best for you, specifically because there is we've got an almost like infinite possibilities in terms of the ways that we can get these needs met. And so it's very difficult for us to be prescriptive in terms of like, here are the things that you can do to meet your needs. However, there is one very notable exception to this, and that is our foundation function need. Now, I want to caveat everything that we are saying with everything that we are suggesting and everything that we are saying is in context of whatever your normal is. Because if you have certain physical disabilities, if you have certain like neurodivergence, if you have like chronic illness, there may be things that everything that we're suggesting is like, see if you can do more of this within the context of what works for you. So like as always when it comes to need stuff, our suggestion is we're making suggestions. But you have to check in. Does this work for you? Does this resonate with you? Try it. See if it does. I mean, there's some of the things I know that when we get into the higher up needs, there's one in particular that kind of comes to mind to meet your security need. And the first time I suggested it to Serena, she was like, like, really? And I'm like, try it. See what you think. And I've actually got another client who's a friend of ours in mind where I made a suggestion and you could see her going, really? And I'm like, try it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, no problem. We'll find that there's lots of other ways of doing it. So yes, it's helpful to try these things, but it is important to recognize that we're all on different playing fields when it comes to the meeting of our needs. We're on a different starting point. We've got different resources. We've got different access available to us. So we need to make sure that we're doing it within the context of whatever our situation is. And that goes also for like in terms of our socioeconomic standpoint, like what do we have the ability to spend money on, for example. So these are all like ideas and suggestions of things that you can do. And what we'll try and do as we're going along is we'll try and come up. I feel like this is like, maybe it's because I'm doing a new workout program at the moment, but like I feel like this is a little bit like we're trying to come up with like a needs workout program. We'll give you modifications depending on like what your capacity is, what your ability is, what your range is.
Isn't that what the Well Shit program is?
Well, yeah.
Shit.
Well, shit, yes. Yeah, and that's exactly, I mean, and everything that we do within that program is like looking for, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's basically a workout program for your being? Like for your needs. But I'm like thinking like specifically in this terms, like we'll try and give you the quote unquote modifications of options of ways that you can do these things that might resonate in different circumstances. And if there are any that are at any point where it's like, I don't, that doesn't feel right for me and none of the options feel right for me, reach out to us. And we'll gladly do a part 2 on this.
We've got options aplenty.
Absolutely. And we can also put things onto our social media if like something comes up, we're like, oh, you could do this as well. The other thing is I'm going to do something different right now before we go any further. And I'm going to ask you to subscribe if you're watching or listening right now. And also, if you are listening and you've listened to 1 or maybe 2 or maybe more than that, please do write us a written review. It really does help people to find us. So if you can rate our podcast, subscribe to it, and like it literally takes a couple of moments. Like you can just go on and hit whatever the stars are, and or depending on which service you use. Some have got stars. I don't know what the other ones are, but I get all very confused because there's different things. But if you would be willing to just write just a couple of sentences, that's all it takes, or even just a sentence, be like, hey, you want to hear a couple of girls talk about glitter with their unicorn, narwhal, and niggle monster? This is the podcast for you. Like, I mean,
we've been found in weirder ways.
Our little friends, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these are our little friends on the back of the couch here with us. It's so funny. The two video angles are very, very different. Like on Serena's, I don't know, the narwhal, like Nunu the narwhal apparently is like maybe she's pouting a little bit. She's set a boundary. She's set a boundary with the other two. That's what they've done. They've set a boundary with the other two. And we've got Unity, our community corn, and Mr. Niggles, who is from our Clearing Niggles episode from the Friendship series. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's who I'm referring to. But without further ado, let's actually crack on with some of the ideas. And the reason that just to be kind of clear, the reason the foundation function is slightly different to the others is because so many of the foundation function needs are physical needs. And there are only a certain number of ways that we can meet those physical needs. And there are certain things we literally need. I mean, like we need oxygen. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't know of any other gases that work in terms of our breathing. It's not like you can be like, yeah, try neon or argon. No, we can't do. The options are more limited when it comes to our foundation function need because these are very specific needs. So we're going to give you some suggestions around these. But if you need any more, just come to us and we'll do our best to offer them. So I think that the first one and the most obvious one for me, there's a couple that are kind of really kind of jumping out. The first is rest. And the reason I think that rest is the first one that comes to mind is because we know that when we take people through the program, if people are like, I just don't want to meet my needs today, a lot of the time I just need rest. Like that's the way that the body's saying, or the brain's going, nope, I don't want to think, I don't want to do anything, I just need to rest. Now, resting can look different for different people. And it's funny. I was watching some Instagram reels yesterday, and there was a female doctor on there who's just starting to experience perimenopause at the moment, and she was like, if you're looking for someone who's going to be all like positive and everything's going to be okay, I am not the person for you. I am pissed right now. Like, what's happened with this? What's happened? And she's like, where has my sleep gone all of a sudden? Like, it just disappeared overnight kind of thing.
Truth. I don't know how anybody can sugarcoat perimenopause. Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, there are people out there who can sugarcoat anything, and we do know that from personal experience.
Anybody going through it, I feel you in all the hot ways. I feel you.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to rest, there's a number of different things. So obviously, sleep is one of those things. And there are things that you can do in terms of maybe going to bed a little bit earlier. And when I say go to bed earlier, a lot of people are like, I've been going to bed at midnight. I should be going to bed at 9 o'clock. And I'm like, that is a huge jump from one to the other. I always suggest with this, like if you're looking to build your capacity, it helps to do it gradually. If you try and take two big steps too fast, it's a little bit like working out. Like you can kill yourself, like going for the burn on the first day, and then you can't move for another 3 days. So it sets you back. So trying to kind of do things incrementally. So maybe going to bed like 15 minutes earlier, or 30 minutes earlier, or 5 minutes earlier. Like anything moving in that direction is going to help.
How I started this, because this was a hard one for me, and I sleep like life, up, down, sideways. Definitely a roller coaster depending on where I'm at, what's going on, all of the things. And it's something we actually teach in the program, is not saying I need to have 50 sips of water.
Right.
Just take a sip of water, start there. For me, it was, I'm like, all right, I have to be in bed by this time. No.
Yeah.
it was like the second I put that in my brain's like, oh, like, fuck you are.
Watch me.
So when I started it, it was like, all right, I'm going to bed at midnight. I need to go to bed earlier. I need to be in bed by midnight. Okay, that I could look at it's midnight. All right, I'm in bed.
Yes.
And then it was, all right, I'm going to start, like I need to be in bed by midnight. Then it was 11:55. All right, well, that's 5 minutes earlier than it was last time. And that was how it gradually worked for me. I couldn't set these time limits. It was a nice goal. I'd like to be in bed by this time. And then there were nights that I had that goal, and it was like, I want to be in bed, as I'm kind of chipping away at the time. I'm going to be in bed at 11:30. 11:45, I'm going upstairs. If I start doing that negative self-talk and I'm like, like, oh, you were supposed to be in bed 15 minutes ago, you're failing, you're whatever mystical, nagging my brain wants to do at me as how I didn't fulfill.
Mystical nagging, that's cool.
I
want mystical nagging rather than the regular kind.
I like to put a fun spin on my nags so that they seem a little bit less naggy. Yeah, I don't know where the fuck that came from, but my mystical nagging.
Okay, I'm good with it.
But yeah, like, so there were times at the beginning where, I was going through the process. I'm like, you need to do better. And then I'm like, no, I'm still getting to bed before midnight, which was the goal to begin with. So a little bit of grace. And there's ebbs and flows in it, but starting with just a generalized goal before midnight, that's what worked for me. And for some people, they need that, like, that time stop. But for me, it was like I tried the time stop and my body was like, no, we don't, like, that's like a box. Like, let's not do that.
Well, and there's lots of different like elements. Like you just said something really important. I'm not sure actually you realize that you said it, but there's also
mystical niggles.
I mean, mystical nagging, I think was what you said. I mean, mystical niggles is even better. I mean, I'm like Mr. Mystical Niggles. Like maybe that's his middle name. Anyway.
Yep, not the episode we're staying on topic.
I did say I wasn't going to promise that.
Better luck next time, Serena.
So I think that something you said was really important is being in bed by midnight. Because these are the things that you can do to help set yourself up to get more sleep. So it's like, if you're like, I have to be asleep by 10 o'clock. Good luck. Chances are it's not going to happen. But like thinking about like, when do you want to be in bed by? When do you want to be like shutting everything down by, like turning off the lights, shutting off your phone or whatever? And it may be that there are like, so there's a number of things that can help with this. So it would be like, so for example, for me, I know I need some transition time between work time and sleep time. Like that's a big thing for me. And whether that's like watching a TV show, whether it's looking at some funny videos on my phone or what have you. And also like I need some time between like engaging with the world and sleep. So like social media, a lot of the time it's like, like unless it's sending stupid videos to the guy that I live with, which also happens a lot at that time of night. But that's the thing. What I'm doing is if you think about it a little bit like toddlers have a bedtime routine. Like what are the things that get them to that point where they're ready to sleep? Why on earth as adults we think that we are any different? I don't know.
Somebody read me a damn story.
Can you tuck me in? I need my binky. But seriously, like, what are the things that would be helpful? So, like, one of the things that's good for me is I like to have a cup of tea in the evening, like a cup of herbal tea. The thing is, if I have my cup of herbal tea too late, I then want to pee I fall asleep and immediately I'm woken up within an hour that I'm getting up and I've got to go to the bathroom. So it's like I start to think about, like, okay, if I go in, like, one of the things I do is I use a acupressure mat that I sometimes lay on. So what I'll do is I'll drink my tea and then I'll lay on my acupressure mat because I'm like, okay, that can be helpful. And the 30 minutes I'm going to lie on that is going to be 30 minutes. Like, I want to have my tea before that, not after that. Like, as said, like, thinking about when do you want to stop engaging with social media? When do you want to maybe turn off devices? Like that, I know that's a big thing for people, is like actually turning off your device before you go to bed. It's not something I do. I said I watch my funny videos normally and then turn over and go to sleep. But for some people, the screen time can be like, okay, now I want to read a book. I don't have any physical books here, I don't think, to be able to read. But like, my books are on my Kindle. So but one of the things that I do is very big for me is I make sure I have the brightness down on my device if I'm using it, and I often have a nighttime mode on, which kind of takes that kind of blue light glare off of it. So these are all of differences, and like, again, like, I know we said we were going to be more prescriptive, but these are all things that you can try, and it's like, you don't necessarily need to be going to sleep as long as you are, like, this is a part of rest. Sleep is great. Sleep is very helpful. We like sleep. Sleep can be like, we want to get as much sleep as we can within the context of whatever our normal is. But rest is a part of that. And as Serena said, like I'll one of the things I'm very good with, I'm not very good with, I don't know how to quite phrase this. Like, when I'm doing something, I like to leave myself, okay, I'm going to do this until this point and then I'll go. So it's like, I'm going to watch TV until 10 o'clock and then I'm going to go get into bed. Or I'm going to watch the end of this episode and then I'm going to get into bed. Like with the silly videos, I'm like, I'll see the time and it's like, okay, it's like 9:50. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this until 10 o'clock because I like to do the little scrolly through the like funny videos and what have you. And it's like, but I mean, 2 hours later, I can still be there. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, maybe I'll get to 10 o'clock. I'm like, but I haven't found a funny one yet. So I'll give myself another couple of minutes. And then the next funny one after that, I'm going to bed. So it's like, there are different things that you can do to kind of get yourself moving in that direction.
One thing that really helps for me, or I found that helped for me, is when I set the boundary of like, no conversations, no jumping down rabbit holes before bed.
Yes.
Like, because there would be times, my husband, love him to death, sometimes he'll, like, right before I'm going to bed, it'd be like, and what about this,
Random
and this?
question.
And it's like, okay, like, that takes some thinking. Like, can we do this in the morning and after I've had my cup of coffee? Like, and it's, you know,
I even just asking the question at that point, like, your brain's already starting to work on it.
Think on it.
No, don't do that to me just before I go to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've kind of started, like, after 10 o'clock, there isn't a lot of depth. Like, obviously, if something comes up. And I'm like, no. Well,
yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, if I'm able to, I'm like, we're going to put a stop on this. But then your brain, it does start worrying. But, like, not getting into a project late at night, not jumping into somebody's something or anything,
right?
Like, just kind of keeping that space clear, because the more that I have a little loft bedroom, the more I take upstairs with me in my brain, the more it's gonna have to process out as I lay down.
Yes.
So I try to stop that, like, intake into my brain earlier in the night. And now it's just become a thing. Like, it's pretty chill and, you know, I mean, it's always pretty chill and kind of calm at my house, but like in general, it's quiet because we're both like
mentally and emotionally quiet as well as physically quiet.
Yes.
And the thing with rest is that rest isn't, like, sleep is one of the components. So we're talking now about kind of bedtimes, and also like in the morning, like finding the ways of doing things that work for you. So like for me, I'm not very good with an alarm. I don't like waking up to an alarm, and I'm very lucky that my body naturally wakes me up at a time where I don't really need to set an alarm very often, unless I'm traveling on a stupidly early flight. And then I never sleep the night before because I'm always like, is it going to go off? Am I going to wake up? Am I going to miss my flight? No. So There are other things I put in place to stop that from happening. But there's also resting during the day. And it's like, okay, not everybody has the ability to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon. Like we're very lucky. We run our own business. We work from home. And depending on what we've got planned and if we've got appointments, if we've got clients and what have you, I can't be like, sorry, client, I need a nap right now. I can't do your session. They may have something to say about that. But if we're working on content stuff and we hit that point where it's like, okay, I feel like you were talking about this the other day, right? Like that your kind of eyes are like you're fighting to stay awake.
Yeah, you're doing like the long blinks and you're like, okay. Like once you start doing that, your brain isn't working on full capacity, nowhere near it. So it's with the ability to, it's much better for our business for us to shut down what we're doing and then shut down our brains a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether it's just sitting there with our eyes closed or whether it's a full-on nap. Like there's certain ways to kind of.
And that's the thing is that those things can happen. Like you're absolutely right. You could take a nap, which sometimes we do. Sometimes, as you say, you just sit with your eyes closed and allow your body to relax a little bit. I've talked about it on previous podcasts. When I worked in corporate, the bathroom was my place to do this. I would go down there, I'd put the lid down, I'd sit down and I would allow myself to actually relax and close my eyes and like just recharge a little bit. And you can do that in that environment. Like it's not something that you you don't need to necessarily have a full-on nap. Yes, if you can. There are times when I've never been a big napper through life. And I will go to lay down and try to take a nap and it ain't happening. Mm-hmm. But in those moments, I can be like, okay, well, at least I'm resting. And I allow my body to relax a little bit more. And it's about looking at what you have the capacity to do within your situation and getting as much or as close as you can to what because in an ideal world, we would not be working to some schedule that doesn't work with our needs. And I mean, there's areas in the world. I mean, there's some areas of Japan where they're set up to take naps because they know that having a nap is going to be better for their productivity and their effectiveness. But the message hasn't got to the rest of the world yet. Like,
could you imagine being in court? I mean, and I did this a couple of times, and a couple of times I'd, I don't want to say caught because there's nothing to get caught, but be at my desk and you're in the cubicle and you just close your eyes for a minute. That's not acceptable at work.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? It's like, I cannot physically look at this screen any longer.
Yes.
And it's like, get back to work. Okay. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be in that environment would be fantastic for a lot of people. But I think that there are times when a nap is ideal. There are times when we don't have time for a nap. Sometimes it's like, okay, but I'm going to just allow myself to sit and close my eyes, and that's going to make all the difference. It's as I said, in an ideal world, we wouldn't be working in these structures where we can't take a nap if that's what's present. Because if what's present is I need a nap, if I don't take a nap, I'm not going to be effective and productive.
I rest before I go into the grocery store. Most times I sit in the parking lot and I close my eyes for a minute, and it's part of prepping myself to go into a people-y situation. But it's 2 minutes of me closing my eyes in the car before I walk into the store gets me an extra 15-20 minutes in the store, being just that more resourced.
Absolutely.
And that's helpful.
Yeah, and depending on, this is something that may resonate with some people, may not. Like I was saying to someone the other day, they were having trouble sleeping, and I was like, have you tried meditating? Because at least you're going to get some benefit from meditation, even if you're not able to actually sleep. There's still some benefit to that. They're like, oh, that's a good idea, actually. And for them, it resonates. It won't resonate for everybody, but again, it's find the ways of doing this that work for you. Anything else you want to say about resting or sleeping before we move on?
No, I like naps.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew there was something to that effect.
I do like naps because they feel good. I do have the privilege to be able to take naps and, in our business setup. But for me, it's just when I wake up from a nap, I'm like, well, most times, sometimes I wake up not knowing what day or year it is. And I'm like,
I'm late for school. Oh, hold on, I'm 40.
Yeah, pretty much. But for the most part, it just, I never knew. You're always told sleep, water, food, basic necessities. But when you really start realizing that sleep component is in the taproot of our tree and really is the basis for a lot of, because it's the taproot. It's the foundation of everything we're doing.
Yeah. And I think there was probably a time when you first started working with the universal needs where you didn't really realize that it wasn't just okay to nap, it was encouraged.
Yeah.
Like it took a minute.
Or like the first time I woke up in the morning, I'm like, I can't, like whatever work we had planned, and being like, oh no, I'm going to have to, like, I cannot physically get myself up and going right now. And, you know, like just needing a little extra sleep, and, you know, texting Claire and being like, oh, I don't know what to do. I know I'm supposed to be there, but like, I really need like another 2 hours of sleep. And it's like, then sleep.
Right.
I was like,
then
what?
Take 2. I need at least 2 hours of sleep. Then take 4. Like if that's what, like, because I know because of the need stuff, if your needs aren't met and you need sleep, you're not going to be any good to me and to the business and to the work we're doing unless you actually get that sleep. So go right ahead. So it's just something to be mindful of, like, where are the spaces where you can get rest? And sometimes it's like between things. So it's like, okay, maybe it's during a lunch break. Maybe it's when you first get in from work. You just take 2 minutes, close your eyes. Maybe it's when the kids are watching their TV shows. Like you take a moment just to sit down and rest your eyes for a second. Like there's lots of, like, look for those moments because, and if you can, like, it might be an idea to set a reminder on your phone is to be like, okay, reminder, rest, like take some rest. It's okay to do that. The other big one that really comes to mind is hydration. Like how do we get enough hydration into our body? Now, as Serena said, with all of these things, it's not about how much you do of them to begin with. If you're building capacity, it's about acknowledging the fact that you're doing them and doing them wherever you can, as opposed to being like, I have to do this amount of things. I mean, when the needs menu first got created, I remember it was like, I sleep a minimum of 8 hours a day. I have to drink at least 2 liters of water a day. I have to do at least 20 minutes of yoga a day. I was exhausted by the end of halfway through the first page, and I'm on need 1 of 12. And needless to say, hopefully, that is not how we approach it anymore. And that's not how we've done it in a way that feels easy and feels simple and feels doable. But I think when it comes to the hydration thing, like find the ways of hydrating that work for you. So again, it's like I have a water bottle next to me at all times. Pretty much. And so it means that whenever I feel it and when I notice myself feeling thirsty, that's the first thing I do is take a sip of water. We've talked about this before. Serena's not a water person generally, but you found the way that works for you, right?
Yeah, which is seltzers. And I get my hydration.
Fizzy water to people in some of the other areas of the world, because I wouldn't have known what a seltzer to me would probably have been like something that you have for a hangover.
Well, and I want to say, like, non-alcoholic seltzers
yes.
as well. Like, I'm not just, pounding down claws at 9 a.m. And it started because Claire does drink a lot of water, and she always has ever since I've known her. She
hasn't always since you've known me.
I've known her. Yeah. And so it's like, I see her little water cup, and I'm like, I can't. The thought of drinking that much water, and it's. Yeah, I'm
the same thing with seltzer. Like I couldn't drink that. I mean, I also don't find seltzer hydrating. Like I feel thirsty when I've had one, and like I can drink maybe one if we're out on the boat sweating in the heat of the middle of the day. Yeah, I can have them instead of an alcoholic drink, so I feel like I'm having something kind of fun and flavorful. But I can't drink a lot, like drinking seltzer the way that you do. I mean, like,
yeah, I can go through a case in a day sometimes.
I feel like I'd explode with all the bubbles.
And it's true, I have gone through a case in a day, or like a half a case in a day, and that prior to my work with the universal needs, that was not. No, that
didn't happen.
Yeah, that was unimaginable. Even in the course of a week, like I'd have to say chronically dehydrated through most of my life, just with, health things and not properly hydrating as like a
right.
Like now I keep it like, you see we have our cups. I always have a can of seltzer or something, because if I have to think about it, if I get thirsty and then I'm like, oh, now I have to get up and now I have to do that. Like just having it there, I may not touch that can of seltzer. I may not drink it, but if I want to, it's right there. And that's a no-brainer. And that's the thing, making things no brain, like just.
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. Here it is. All right. I drink it. I don't drink it, but I'm more likely to drink it if it's right there.
And also we have each other's backs in that, in the sense that, like, if I get up and she doesn't have a can of seltzer, I'm like, you want a seltzer? Like, and most of the time it's like, yeah, actually. And so
Or watching in puddle, like especially during puddle moments with the
Yeah.
two of us, it's like, all right, I've just seen you cry out 16 liters of water. And like one of us will get up and just go fill a thing of
Yeah.
water, grab a can of seltzer and be like, here you go. And it's like, oh, all right. And then there's that reminder, because when you're in the middle of like, you know, your puddle meltdown, you're not thinking, I should probably hydrate during this. But then having somebody be like, this is important. It's like, oh yeah, let me take a sip of that and then cry some more. Like,
And like and so this is like, again, find the things that work for you. So it's like if you're someone who you like something that is not fizzy but has flavor in it, like there's the little flavor additions that you can add to water to kind of give yourself that thing. There's like, you can actually add fruit to water. Like if that's like, is it Joe? Joe likes adding fruit to things. Oh no, that's mimosas. He likes adding fruit too. I'm like, he likes adding fruit stuff. Yeah, that's not necessarily a great way to hydrate.
No.
But like for some people, and you can actually get like water bottles which you allow you to add like a fruit component to the bottom, which infuses the water. So it's like, find the ways of doing it. One of the things that helps me to hydrate is when I have my smoothie, because my smoothie is made of a large amount of water, and I know I'm getting hydrated from that, mainly because as soon as I have my smoothie, I'm like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom, and that's a good sign. If you're getting that nudge to go to the bathroom, then it's a sign you're well hydrated. Like if you're drinking and immediately, then that's a good sign. So like, find the things that will feel hydration to you, and just try and find a way of keeping it close by, and just sip whenever you think about it. Like sip whenever you notice the mug, sip whenever you think about it, sip whenever you feel dehydrated, or if you're feeling like thirsty. And actually that kind of segues on nicely. Anything more about hydration?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We got another one. Excellent. Dive in.
Back up. We do have more on hydration. Oh, two things that were helpful for me. First one is I used to go all gung ho and be like, I'm gonna hydrate, and this is when I'm gonna figure out how to drink that 8 ounces of water, or no, not 8. Is it? No, 8 cups of water. Whatever. See, I don't know. It's a lot of water. And I get these big jugs, and I'm like, I'm going to drink. This is going to motivate me to drink all this water, because I'm going to see that jug and I'm going to see how much more I need to drink. And I would get myself so fucking overwhelmed. It didn't matter if I was just starting out or if I was 6 weeks into drinking out of a jug of water. Just seeing the amount of water for me, it gave me anxiety. And I'm like, but this is such a popular thing, and there's all these water bottles saying like, oh, you're doing great, keep on chugging, or whatever it is. That gave me anxiety, and I was like fighting my brain. I'm like, but this is working for so many people, why isn't it working for me? So then I started going back to the can and just being like, okay, and now that can's empty, and let me crack a new can and put it there. And that was what worked for me. I was trying to do all these like, oh, these bottles are designed for this, and it was overwhelming me.
This is what works, like in big quotation marks. And it's like, no, it might work for some people, but...
And I had, at one point, I had a little light that would, like, you put it on a water bottle, and it blinks every time you're supposed to drink. I was, like, turning the bottle. I'm like, don't blink at me. Like, it was giving me so much anxiety. So it really is finding what works for you. And one thing that has helped me, it didn't start with the desire to hydrate more. It was more diluting flavor, but I like to drink sports drinks sometimes. They're too sweet for me. So what I do is I cut them into like quarters and then fill the rest up with water. So I'm getting that extra bit of hydration in there with the water, but still getting that kind of sports drink flavoring. That was something that really helped me to kind of boost that hydration in a way that worked for me.
Absolutely. And actually, I'm gonna add something as well, which is the flip side of Serena's first one, which is that like the whole big thing with all the milestones on it. Again, some people that works great for. That's not what's helpful for me. What's helpful for me is not needing to get up to refill. I mean, I'm a big mug person. Like I kind of downsized on these ones, but her usual mug is
these
are little. I mean, it's funny actually because I've been talking about hydration. I'm like, this is nearly empty for me because I'm like, I've been drinking all the way through it, and that's the size that a lot of people will have. And it's like, I will drink it. And then because I tend to get busy and I get involved in things, I won't refill it. And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm thirsty. And I'm like, okay, I'm really thirsty now. I've got to get up and get the water. Not having to refill it is a good thing for me. So I have like, I can see my other Yeti like on the side over there. And it's like a big, I think it's 42 ounce, I think it is.
It's a two-fister.
Well,
for me.
Like I can just about manage one. But like that's what I carry around with me the majority of the time. And especially as being a dancer, like I need to be able to hydrate in between. Like that comes up. I have a little, another thing that's a great tip is that I have this big, I said, we're in the tropics here. So we tend to have cooler bottles so that our drinks stay cool, because otherwise they get really hot, which makes it even less likely that you're going to drink it. Other area, like in England, that wouldn't be a concern for most of the time, so you wouldn't have to worry about it. But this thing's heavy. Like when it's full, I'm carrying it around with me. It's heavy, and the fact that it's heavy. So what I've done, I've got a little carrying bag basically that I slide my Yeti, other brands are available, into, and I can put it on my shoulder and I take that out. And because it makes it easier for me to take it because I've got both my hands available. And it's meant that I've bought it more places, I've hydrated more. Same thing with a mug. Like I ordered 20-ounce mugs when I ordered our mugs that have a logo on. Now, it was so funny because I ordered a 20-ounce mug and I got it and I was like, oh, these are kind of small. Because to me, they are. Like, I like a big mug. Because
it's a medium coffee, just so you know.
Okay, there you go. But again, like from that standpoint, I want to make my tea and I want to drink it and I want as much as possible in one making, because otherwise I might take a while to get up again. What?
I drink, we all know I drink coffee. And I remember at one point, because I make big cups, and in the morning I'm really like something super simple for me. I love coffee in the morning. Like it's something I enjoy. The process of making coffee, I can't, like, I like good coffee. I can't really be bothered with it. I have little instant ones that I throw into my hot water and I make it because it's easy. And so I put the little instant measured ones and I fill it, and it's obvious. It's like 2 cups of coffee with 1 pack. And I'm like, look at me hydrating even more. It's more water. It is. The diuretic part of the coffee probably counterbalances it. But like even something like that, making my life easier from the not having to, okay, yeah, I want a cup. Do I want it that bad that I want instant? Yes, I do. So there it is. It's easy. It's done.
I have a little pouch of herbal tea bags that I in my purse at
all
times. All times I carry them with me, because a lot of people here drink coffee and not every place does herbal tea. And if they do, there might be teas I'm like, meh, not really.
You can have English breakfast or...
Well, that's not herbal. That's black tea as well. So like I like herbal tea because it's hydration. And again, the black tea not as hydrating as herbal tea is. And so I bring that with me, because that way I know if I'm going to a coffee shop, I can just ask for a mug of hot water. And yes, I'm still going to tip. Don't worry, I'm not going to be like, oh, can I just get a free drink? Because I got my tea bag. But I have that with me. And it means if I go to a friend's house and they don't have herbal tea, because if you don't drink herbal tea, you don't tend to have it in the house. Like it means I have it. So if at any point, if I want it, it's there and it's available to me. We done with hydration?
Now
Segueing on to the next big one, which is going to the bathroom. Like if you hydrate well, then it means that you need to go to the bathroom. What?
My friend that I was hanging out this weekend with, we went to one of the grocery stores, and she had to go to the bathroom, and she's like, I have to go to the bathroom. She goes, I know you'll be proud of me for just doing it when I have to. I'm like, you're lucky I'm not applauding you in the middle of the grocery store.
It's true. And that's the thing, is that again, it's like, for me personally, I always used to put it off. I'm busy doing stuff, like very much like I get hyper focused, like neurospicy people here. Like I get hyper focused, and then all of a sudden it's been like 5 hours, and I'm like, what the hell? Where did the day go? I haven't eaten. I haven't drunk anything. I haven't gone to the bathroom, and I'm desperate. I sat there crossing my legs while I'm trying to finish the thing I'm doing. So it's like the first time and it's so funny how like we joke about like applauding people for going to the bathroom the first time. I still acknowledge myself when I go to the bathroom. I'm like, same thing with drinking water. If I first feel the first moment I feel thirsty, I'm like, look at me drinking water the first time. Look at me going to the bathroom as soon as I need it, because I know it's a big deal for me. Like, it's not something I'm good at.
I used to text Claire.
Yes.
Like, when I first started, I'm like, I just went to the bathroom when I had to. Yay.
I'm like, yay.
But
I didn't have the confetti functionality at that point.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but think about like how often we don't do this as adults. I used to pride myself on being like a camel. I'm like, I never have to go to the bathroom. Realize as a more adulty adult, I'm using that terminology loosely and lightly, both. But that was something I was like, I never have to go pee. That is not the case.
Well, and it's funny actually, because also I remember like early on, that was something that you used to use as a kind of bragging point with me. And I'm sitting there going like I didn't say it out loud when we first met, but I'm like, I mean, you're probably dehydrated because you probably aren't hydrating enough, or you're not going to the bathroom when you need to. Either way, this doesn't
How
feel
do you
like
think I got all those sick dance moves?
This doesn't feel like a good needs thing to do. So again, like figuring out the ways of doing those things that work for you, and going when you first need to.
Or I walk by the bathroom now and I'm like,
might as
let's
well
try.
Yeah.
And it seemed like before you leave, I think of like parents telling their kids, did you try to go to the bathroom? And I do it as an adult, like to everybody in the room, like, all right, like everybody, let's try and go, because so often we get so caught up in this is what needs to be done. We need to go here. We need to be here, blah, blah. Like we're moving. The first thing that normally takes the back seat is our own needs, and especially our foundation function needs. Because you're like, well, when I really have to go, I'll go. Well, if you really have to go, you have like pushed it past the point of like, usually
it's way past the first signal. And
there has to be something that's slightly more unhealthy about holding that stuff in.
Well, there's I don't know whether you remember, there's a film from the 90s, I'm guessing, I think, called Liar Liar with Jim Carrey in it. And his kid makes a wish, and because his dad is a lawyer basically, and he lies constantly to everyone about everything. And he's constantly letting down his son because he says he'll be there and then he isn't. And so the kid makes a wish saying that his dad can't lie for a day. That's his thing. And then you have to watch this guy who literally lies are the only thing holding his life together-ish, trying to navigate a day without telling a single lie. And there's a point where he's in court and he's trying to stall the proceedings, and he's trying to find any way out of it, because he wants to lie to basically win his case. And so he's trying everything. So he goes into goes to the bathroom, and like this is like the a little bit later, but like one of the things he does is he beats himself up in the bathroom, and the judge says to him like who did this to you? And he's like an unhinged man. Like he's telling the truth, but it was him that did it to himself. But there's a point in the proceedings where he asks the judge to go to the bathroom, and the judge says, can you hold it? And obviously he has to tell the truth. So he's like, yes. And he's like, oh, damn it. And then he's like, but I've heard that if you hold it, that it can make it very difficult to like have an erection or something. There's like something like this. And the judge is like, is that true? And he's like, it has to be. And he's like, in that case, I should go myself, sort of thing. But it's that thing, like there's something like biologically, it's probably not a good idea. Like we're not medical doctors. We can't speak to that. But
I play one on the podcast.
Yeah. But if Jim Carrey said it, I mean, well, there you go. Yeah, maybe not
going near that rabbit hole.
No rabbit holes here. But anyway, that's what made me think of that. But you're right. Like, I don't believe that physiologically it can be good for us, because ultimately that's the way of getting the toxicity out of our system. Like we are removing waste, and we know if waste hangs around too long, it's probably not a very good idea. There was something else I was going to speak to, and
on peeing.
No, I don't think it was. I think I was trying to think of all the other things that we might want to cover in this.
One that I have is movement of your body. That is an important aspect of your foundation function need. And this was one that I personally used to go 0 to 60 to. It was like
it's more 0 to 180, I think.
it's 0 to fast.
I think it was more 0 to fuck.
Well, yeah, usually, because what I would do is I'd go from a sedentary position in life where it's like, you know, I'm kind of sitting around a lot more. I'm, you know, not moving my body. And then I'm like, I'm going to start moving my body. And then I go right into like a high intensity yoga class. And I'm like, then the next day I come back, I'm like, I can't fucking move. And then over those days I lose the motivation because I'm so sore and, you know, all of the things there. But moving your body is so important. So for me, something that, and I'm kind of getting into the process right now of doing it, it's like I really want to be into the routine. Like Claire has her morning routine where she's stretching, and it's like I've been sick and recovering and in my own space, so there's been a lot less.
You're not there yet.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the
not there yet.
reality.
There's not a lot of constant movement. And I'm like, I really want to get back into dancing and stretching and, you know, having my nightly thing where I stretch out my body. And I'm like, but right now I'm right about here. And it starts, and if you're not on the video, you can't see it. It's just moving a little bit. It's moving my shoulders a little bit. It's not even doing any exercise, not really doing any purposeful, like, I'm going to work my, you know, my deltoid or like the muscle, whatever.
Shoulder muscle.
I don't know. I feel.
I know the muscles on my body that are problematic. Yeah, I know that I'm not moving my QL. Or my piriformis when we're doing that. So
exactly. Yeah. But just starting with the that feels nice, and it's like, okay, that may not have had that huge impact that like my body wants and needs, but that's better than me just sitting there. And if it's the difference between me sitting there and doing that or not like, and then it gets to be like, all right, let me do that a little bit more. Let me put some intention into it. Okay, I'm going to do circle. My neck is really stiff. Let me do the things that I know are going to help this. And it starts to build that practice slowly and slowly. And before you know it, you're on the floor stretching. And it's like, oh, how did I get here? Well, I got there by moving my neck one night.
Right. And that's the thing is that, like, I mean, Serena's right. I'm back into a more defined routine, I suppose, at the moment, whereby I'm doing a workout every morning, because I had something specific I wanted to start to work towards, and I knew I was going to have to build my strength to do that, and like I want to get back into my aerial movement, and I knew I needed to build strength because, quite frankly, I don't have much, having sat around healing for best part of 3 months. 3 days. 3 days will be 100 days until the cough's like
it's supposed to go away.
Supposed to be gone. I mean, you've heard I'm still coughing today. I'm like, 3 days, we're done with this shit, right? We shall see. But yeah, I mean, like there's so many different ways of moving. And one of the things that was like, yes, I was wanting to do this workout program, which I've started to do, and it feels really good. Like I can feel my body, like they've got like different, you do the same workouts basically every day, every week for 4 weeks. And then you move up to another level. And it was like, I remember the first week, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. And everything hurt and what have you. And I'm actually on the second week of doing it now. And like the exercises that I could not do last week, I'm actually able to do this week. And I'm like, I can see the progress already, which feels great. But the thing is that one of the things that was, I was finding myself getting sore and stiff because I'm brand new back to a more intense form of exercise, and I put the word out in the Facebook group, and people were saying like walking's a really good way of like moving the lactic acid out of your muscles, and so I was like, okay, so I put the left earphones in and I put a podcast on and I started walking. Now once I start, like my plan was only to walk for maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of move things. Like I think it was yesterday or might have been the day before, I walked for an hour. And I didn't realize, it was like, I was enjoying walking. I was like going out for a walk. You don't have to define how long that needs to be in either distance or time. And I finally realized I got back. I'm like, I haven't even checked my step count, which I normally am like, it's the second I start walking, I'm like, how many steps did I do? This is exciting. But it's like just starting to do something is the thing that kind of tends to get, I like, you want to go, like you want to move, but you don't, it's very unusual for me to be doing the kind of workout that I'm doing right now. I'm somebody who generally I've had a very, as I said a couple of episodes ago, a hate relationship with formal workouts. But there are lots of ways of moving the body that don't involve that. Like you can go to a dance class. You could just go out dancing for an evening.
You could just put a song on and dance around your living room.
Exactly. And actually that's also a good thing, like figuring out the way of working out that works for you. So some people really, if you want to work out, like, and if you've got the capacity, like if literally all you're going to do is you just want to move your neck, or you just want to like move your arms or your back or what have you, that's where you're at. That's going to build your capacity is doing the things. And little sidebar for a second, the way you build your capacity is by doing things to meet your needs that are in alignment with your capacity currently. You will not build your capacity if you go beyond your capacity to do things to try to build your capacity. It just doesn't work that way. So it's like Serena, like there's a part of her, I'm sure, that would love to be doing the kind of working out that I'm doing right now. But like if she knows that would go past her capacity, it's going to move her further back, not further forward. So she's doing things in alignment with her capacity. So it's like,
and it's my capacity at this very moment. Because, in 2 months, I might be like, actually, yeah, this does work for me. I can do this and pick up right there.
Absolutely. So it's like figuring out, and if you are somebody who like works out, like figuring out the way of working out that works for you. So I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I hadn't thought about this until she'd said it. She was like, I like to only exercise in the afternoon because she's also neurodivergent. And for her, getting up, showering, going and exercising, and then showering again, it's just all too much. Like the thought of showering that amount of time in that short space of time, and she needs to shower after working out because otherwise she's going to feel gross. And I was like, that's why one of the reasons I enjoy working out at home, because I get up, I don't shower, I just throw on workout clothes, I do my workout, I shower once, and I'm done. And it was like, oh, I'd never even realized that was part of the reason, but it's absolutely part of the reason. Some people really enjoy doing things in a class format because that gives them the encouragement and the, what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability of other people being there and seeing you and all that sort of stuff. Some people like to work out with a trainer because that's what will hold them accountable to doing the things that they say they want to do for themselves. Some people, it's easier working out at home. Like I love working out at home. Like a lot of people don't. Like it's not something that you enjoy, is it? Or like get a lot out of.
Yeah, my ADHD pops in and I'm like on the ground doing something and I'm like, oh, I should sweep. And then all of a sudden I'm cleaning the bathroom. So
and for me, interestingly enough, same neurodivergence that for me, working out at home is the way that I stop myself from getting distracted by it. Because if I get up and I literally get straight onto my mat, whether that is I want to do some just general stretching, whether I want to do yoga, whether I'm working out, by getting up, I don't really do a huge amount. I don't turn on my laptop. And I mean, sometimes I use that as the thing I'm playing the whatever I'm doing on. But like literally, I'm like up, bathroom, get dressed, onto the mat. And that's what stops me from getting distracted because I do it before anything else happens. If I tried to do it later in the day, chances are most of the time I wouldn't get around to it because this would be happening or that would be happening or I've just got to do this, I've just got to do that. Before I know it's 9 o'clock.
And I'm tired.
Exactly.
And all of the things.
So it's like finding the ways of doing this that work for you.
And I think, especially in this one, doing something. Like if you're trying to get into the habit of doing it, some days, like Claire could do her workout 7 days a week and it's, if that serves her. And then there's that one day that she doesn't want to do it for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. If she just completely stops because that's what her body needs, great. But oftentimes we stop something and we're like, I either need to do this or I'm doing nothing. And it's like finding that stopgap.
All or nothing.
All or nothing. Mm-hmm. So that stopgap for me, it's like, all right, I'm not going to go to a dance class tonight, but I'm just going to, like a lot of times how I supplement in dancing when I'm like just not there to dance is I'll just kind of wiggle around it. But it's like, I'm just going to move my body. Mm-hmm. It's not going to make any sense. It's not going to look cute by any means, but like, okay, this is better than me doing nothing. And it can be something from a class to a wiggle that just puts that in like, okay, yeah, because I'll forget how good it feels to move my body.
Yes.
Like I'll just sit there and I'll be like, oh, well, this couch feels nice and this couch feels nice and just kind of sink deeper into it. But if I keep just a little bit of movement daily, my body's like, yeah, all right. And then when I try to go back into the class, it's not going to be like, what the fuck are we doing here again?
Well, and there's other things like in that where it's like for example, like working out last week, I had these videos. This program sold itself as for complete beginners. It's not for complete beginners. It's just not. Like there's no way. This program that I'm doing, and I believe there is actually a beginners specific program before that. But even that, I've heard people say it's not complete beginners. But I've gone from nothing to doing a rarely, like, it's supposed to be gentle, and it is, but there's still a lot of work in that. And last week I would get to 7 reps and I was done. So that's what I would do. Like, there was a time in my life where I'd have been like, no, I've said I'm going to do this. I've got to do all 10. And it's like, no, I've got to listen to my body, so I'm able to walk tomorrow, so I'm able to continue to do the things I want to do. The other thing is like taking micro breaks. So that's not something, again, if I was in a class with a group of people, I wouldn't have taken micro breaks before. I like, you got to do it. We're same with everybody else. Same thing with on the videos. Like, I'm getting to 7 and I'm tired now. It's intense. But it's not, I'm done. I just like, that muscle just needs a break for a second. And I can pause it and I'm like, okay, wiggle it out. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I can finish. Don't do the last 3. Because it feels good to do it. Like, I feel like I'm doing it in alignment with what feels resonant for me. I realize that we're getting to this being a little bit of a longer episode, and I'm amazed because I did not think this was going to be a long episode at all.
Because you said this should be a shorter episode. The second she said that, I'm like,
damn it. Here we go. But the thing that actually prompted all of this, the thing that actually gave me the inspiration to do this episode, is looking at eating and nutrition. And something very specific that I've been doing recently. So, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I did a batch cooking. Now, I will say that this was me doing it in a way that, like, I'm going to kick this off. I'm going to get to the point where I've got loads of stuff in the freezer. I counted up yesterday. There's a second layer at the back, and I haven't been able to count all the ones at the back. It's over 50 portions. And I already have had 2. So I reckon I probably made 2 months worth of dinners in the one go. Now, that's a lot. And that's a lot of people have been commenting on where I shared the post on social media. And most people are like, oh my God, I could never do that. Or someone's like, oh, I'm just lazy. And I'm like, first things first, you're not lazy. You're just prioritizing different needs. That's just fundamentally a principle that we hold true to, is that laziness is just prioritizing different needs over the ones that part of our brain thinks we should be prioritizing. But a lot of people have been like, oh God, I'd love to do that, but I don't know how to get started. Now, first things first, when it comes to nutrition, find the ways of doing nutrition that work for you. If you are neurodivergent and you have a safe food and that is your safe food and that is your go-to, use that. Like that, like there's a lot of this, sometimes this, that, oh, well, I should be having X, Y, and Z. What eating versus not eating is the priority, is the preference. So again, like the small steps, baby steps, and then maybe we can add or introduce other things in. I saw a video the other day of a father who was taking his son's autistic, and they went to the grocery store together, and the son was basically picking things up and putting them in the cart. And he picked up a fruit pouch, which he'd never had fruit before. Like, as in, like, he'd never taken to it. He'd never wanted fruit before. And this fruit pouch, all of a sudden, he was like, yeah. And like next time, he got a different one, and it, like he tried it and he sniffed it and he like licked it a little bit. And then he tried. So it was like he was finding the ways. Getting very excited with the pop screen. So, but he was finding the ways of doing it that worked for him. Like, but if that had been forced, like, even if he'd been forcing himself, be like, I have to have this. The second you think you have to have it, there's going to be a resistance to it because you're disconnected from your personal power need. So find the ways of doing nutrition that work for you. Another example that I use all the time is me and my smoothies. I have a smoothie. I'm vegan, so I do have. There's a part of me that's always mindful about protein and making sure that I'm getting enough. And my smoothie, I actually started having my smoothies at the beginning of the pandemic when we couldn't get access to fresh fruit and vegetables. And I'm like, I want to make sure I'm still getting the nutrition. And I found this one that's got a load of fruit and veg in it. It's got superfoods and all the things. It's a complete meal replacement, basically. I mean, I don't have it as a meal replacement. I have it as a snack. But that's one of the easy ways of getting nutrition into my body. It's like, especially like if I'm sick and I don't want to eat anything, even if I just like mix that up with some water and down it, at least I'm getting some nutrition in my body. So that's one of the things that I found very helpful. But specifically with the meal prepping and the meal planning, people like how, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, and there are a few things that I found that have been really helpful for me getting started with it. The first thing I would say is start off with things that are one dish meals. So you're basically using one dish, you're putting everything into one pot, you're cooking it, and that's it done. For a couple of reasons. One, it reduces the washing up, which and the dishes afterwards, which again helps. It's simpler. You don't have to worry about like juggling lots of different things. One pot, one and done, which is great. The other thing is to find a few recipes that you like. And yes, if you want to do it all in one go like I did, I wanted to be done all my cooking in one go and then not have to think about cooking for the next couple of months if I didn't want to. Is that what can be helpful though is like start off with doing it once a week with just one dish and making enough of that one dish. So you're basically only cooking one meal, but doing enough of that there are extra portions you can put in the freezer and just doing that once a week. And eventually you'll end up building up your little freezer supply of portions. And the reason that this works for me personally is because a lot of the time, one, I'm tired by the end of the day. Two, I don't want to be cooking. Three, the decisions I'm going to make about what to eat when I am hungry and when I'm tired are going to be very different to the decisions I want to make about what I want to eat if I'm from a more resourced position.
You mean a bag of chips isn't dinner?
Wedges. Potato wedges for me. It's always potato wedges. I'm some kind of potato-based product.
Mine's usually crackers.
Really?
When I go, like, when they're available and I'm in that kind of unprepared, not lazy way of thinking, but
I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think
I'm
about
like,
it. No effort.
Crackers, peanut butter, like.
Yeah. Now I'm always like, because what happens when I get really, really hungry, then it's like, what do I feel is actually going to satiate that hunger? And the thing that I'm craving is always potato, mashed potato, fries, wedges. Wedges tend to be my go-to, unless I'm sick, in which case always mashed potato. But I'm a potato. I'm a carb girl through and through. Like with my potatoes are my go-to. And so what I do is I portion it up and I put it in the freezer. And then what I do is every day I take a portion out in the morning and allow it to defrost during the day. And then normally I cook it up in the evening. Maybe I might do some veg to go with it. Or maybe it's all encompassing in that one thing. I've got a couple of meals I make where it's like literally everything's in that one bowl. I'm normally eating within 5 to 10 minutes in the evening when I start, but also I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about what do I want to eat? What do I got the capacity to eat? What have I got the ingredients to make? I just have to eat the thing that I've already got out for the day and it's done. And that the less I have to think about it, the easier it is for me to do things that are in alignment for me from a nutritional standpoint.
I do that kind of with shopping. Like I've always kind of wanted to be one of those bulk preparers, but it's really just not it doesn't really work for me. I've tried it and I want it to be, but it doesn't work. And I have to kind of accept that. So because like I have tried and sometimes
if it works,
and it's okay.
If it works for you, it doesn't. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah,
ultimately,
and that's okay. Like
you find the ways that work for you.
So for me, I do like always make sure there's something that I can pull out. There's an entire meal, or usually I have about 3 meals that are like the freezer quick grab things. It's like, all right, there is a can of
emergency food.
Yeah. Like I know there's this, this orange, vegan chicken dish in the freezer that I can just throw in a pan, and there's a bag of frozen edamame, and then there's some rice, and that's a dinner. It's not my favorite dinner. It's not the most nutritious thing, but it's more nutritious than
it's quick, easy, and simple.
The roll of crackers, package of Oreos, bag of chips that you'll find yourself mindly eating because you're like, well, I don't know what to make. I'm just going to eat this to, until I figure out what I'm going to eat. And then all of a sudden that's gone. I'm like, well, I'm not really hungry for real food. Like,
There's a reason for that.
So if you're not batch cooking, maybe just having a couple of those dinners.
Right.
Like, there's
Quick
always
and easy in the freezer.
Yeah, and there's always a box of mac and cheese. Yeah, not the most nutritional,
right,
substance thing, but in the absence of having the capacity to figure out anything else, that's better than not eating at all.
And also figuring out some things that are relatively quick and easy that will get you what you need fast. And having those ingredients on hand. Like for me, the fridge is empty if we don't have avocados and red onion in there. That's one of those weird things. It's like those are one of my go-to. I can quickly and easily make something with that. I can make avocado toast. It's easy. And like having the ability, like I'm very, very lucky. I got Vitamix for Christmas, and the fact that I can literally throw up. No, that's not what I'm saying. Throw into the Vitamix a bunch of ingredients and whiz it up, and it's like a warm soup within the space of like 3 or 4 minutes is extraordinary to me. So making sure that there are always a few things on hand. I always have hummus in the fridge. And yes, it would be more nutritious and probably healthier because I know what's in it if I made it myself. But if I had to make it myself, chances are I wouldn't eat it. I'd go to something else. So I always have hummus, normally organic carrots, and some snow peas, and that's one of my, like, if I need something quick and easy but I need it nutritional, that like I need something to fill the gap, that's one of the things that I'll have in there. So like figuring out what are the things that make it, like with all of these things, the thing to building your capacity is finding the ways of doing the things that you need most, taproot first, that are quick, easy, and simple for you, or quicker, easier and simpler than the other options available. So find the things that work for you. Find, like, for some people it is sitting down and like putting their eyes closed for a couple of minutes. That's the thing that's going to work for them. For some people it's having hummus in the fridge. For others, I mean, I said, like Serena's right, like the whole emergency food thing. I always go to my favorite Indian food place down here, Samosa Mama, down at the market. I always have, I have 3 of their curries in the freezer right now, and I know that at any time I can pull one of those out, I can cook it from frozen, it can be done in 10 minutes, super easy. And those, so it's like finding the ways of doing this that work for you but also take less effort, because if you're trying to build capacity, you want to have low effort in for a significant or significantly more than it was out the other side. So it's like, yeah, you might want to do a workout class, but actually you don't have the energy for a workout class. I've got the energy to stretch, and I'm getting the benefit from stretching. The one thing I've found remarkable from working out is the amount of times just from not the workout, the warm up, where I'm kind of doing the thing. All I'm doing is moving my body from side to side, and I feel this through my spine. I'm like, oh wow, that feels really good. Like my spine's released in a way, and all I've done is basically swung my butt from side to side for a little bit. So it's like finding these ways that work for you
and making sure you have options, because the way that works for you may not always be the way that works for you. And that was something that was hard for me to get around. Like, but this is what works. And especially like and I think this is probably true with a lot of people, unless, in the neurospicy aspect, there are safe foods and stuff, but like there are certain things that it's like, this is what I'm eating, and for months that's my go-to, and then all of a sudden
that actually normally is, well, a lot of the time what safe food is for neurospicy folks. It's like that's the thing that they go and eat. That's the thing.
For like, it doesn't have to be, it's just I found that works for me.
That's a go-to.
That's a go-to. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now I never want to touch every couple of years I get on a yogurt kick, and I eat yogurt with everything. And it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm making parfaits and everything. And then one day I'm like, nope. And if I'm like, no, that's what I go to, and I'm sticking to it, it's like, no, that's my easy thing. All of a sudden that is actually counteracting what I'm trying to do. And it's compromising my needs. And so like having multiple, or giving yourself the freedom to switch what has always been. It's okay. It doesn't have to look the way that it looks, even for you. Like that changes, and it should change, because some days I want to eat a waffle, and like I have protein waffles that are my go-to, because I know I can eat a waffle, I can slap something on it, and that's giving me the protein I need. It's quick, it's easy, I don't have to think about it. some days the waffle isn't doing it for me. And if I don't have that other option ready.
That should be the catchphrase. Sometimes the waffle isn't doing it for me for this episode. Like, I love it.
Well, we got the teaser. If I don't have another option, then I'm either doing nothing and I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to eat today, or I'm like begrudgingly taking bites. Like, I don't even want this thing. Like,
and there is a privilege in being able to have different options at home and like to have them available to us. And that's why it's always, all of this is like in the context of whatever you have that works for your situation. And if you have the ability to have options in, yes, like that's a great one. Like, edamame, I never think to have edamame as a snack, and then I had like a couple of bags in the freezer and I'm like, oh, I can have edamame, and I had all I ate for like 3 days, and then I'm like, oh, I'm done with edamame for a little bit. Like, exactly the same idea. So the key thing with all of this is like, these are just some starting points. These are options, these are suggestions. This is us throwing all the spaghetti on the wall so you can pick off the noodles that feel like they're going to resonate with you. And these are ideas for you to have in your back pocket, so you don't, it's not like, oh, this is the way I'm going to do it. It's like figuring out, okay, today this is the way I want to do it, and then tomorrow maybe this is the way I want to do it, and then the next day, actually, let's go back to the first day, or actually no, there's another third entirely different way of doing it that works for me.
Sounds like you're talking about the needs practice.
Oh. Well, isn't that funny? Like, that's and it's interesting because the needs practice is basically just a larger version of this, which doesn't take much time actually, which is, it's funny because it's larger in the sense you're looking at more needs than just that one foundation function one.
It's like you're tossing spaghetti on the wall right now, but the practice is a noodle factory, but it's so easy because there's a process to it. And it's like this, and this.
It's almost like you've got like a house, and all of the walls of the house have got spaghetti all over them already. The spaghetti that you particularly like, and what you do is each day you walk through, and in each room you're like, well, that's the noodle I want today, and then you walk into the next room and like, well, that's the noodle I want for this room, and that's the noodle I want for this room, and all of a sudden you've got already a yummy meal that gives you everything you need for that day, and then everything on top of that's just bonus. So there's I've never described it that way ever, but that's kind of what came to me, and I think that's exactly what the needs practice is. And before you get to that point, for where you're at right now, if you really need to build capacity, these are your building blocks, because your foundation function, it is that taproot of your entire tree. We have to take care of that. Yes, we want to take care of the others as well. We're not saying that ignore all the other needs. We're just saying this is a starting point, and this is the point that's going to have you build a tree that's going to feel more nourished and more supported. And ultimately, that's what building your capacity is all about. Anything else you want to add? No, she's like, don't. There's a rabbit hole. I see it.
No.
I've got a toe over the edge if you push me.
I think that we've covered a lot. I mean, because it is the taproot, the foundation function need is, I mean, all the needs are important. Like, we could literally go on for hours about this, and this episode is much longer. It's much longer than we want it, or we intended it to be. Yeah. And as Claire usually says, like, please, if you have more suggestions, if something's not clear, I mean, we literally live in a spaghetti factory. That is our lives. So we are happy to toss more ideas out there. Like, okay, I've tried this isn't working. Any thoughts? Right. Absolutely. Yes, I am sure we do have thoughts.
Yeah, we have all the thoughts. We're just trying not to overwhelm people with every single one of them, because it's like, the thing is, there's so many options. It can feel overwhelming if you get all of them. And that's why I wanted to start with just this starting point with the foundation function, and with we haven't covered all of the foundation function need today. We've just covered some of the real basics of it, like the building blocks of the foundation function, if you like. And so there's way more here. There's way more for us to do in terms of meeting our needs, but we know these are the critical and most important places to focus if you're trying to build capacity.
And these aren't the only options for those specific places
absolutely
as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again real soon. Between now and then, remember to take care of yourself, to stay safe, and to continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard,
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, if you want to try to build your capacity, the starting point that we suggest is with the taproot of your tree, finding the simple ways that specifically work for where you're at.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.